Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to the NXT after party at New Year's Evil. I'm wearing a hat. I'm wearing my New Year's hat.
You are. I'm wearing my New Japan Bullet Club hockey jersey because
it's Wrestle Kingdom. It's the same.
Yeah. Other festivities.
It's that time of the season. I'm your host Alex Pawlowski. I'm here with Kate Hensler as always. We had the New Year's Evil.
We did.
We had the New Year's Evil tonight. They had those promos that ran all through Raw last night of the same one of all the crowd cheering for nothing, and there's a hooded figure in the crowd, and it pulls over off the hood and looks up at the camera, and it's Mandy Rose. It says, "There's a new face of evil," and I was like, "That's not how you've booked Mandy Rose." I feel like it's just a weird thing that you decided that she's the face of evil.
She's
Whatever.
Not evil.
Should
She's just
be forgot. I have red eyes. It's weird. Anyway, we had guys,
you know what? Vince thinking evil and hot are the same thing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. She's that damn Jezebel.
It's sexy. Firing people is hot.
Please get in your humper chats, humperchats.com or super chats. We'll read them on the air. We'll do this. It'll be a fun time, a fun evening. Also, subscribe to the Fightful Select. We're going to talk about it later when we get to the actual thing it's about. But there was a story that dropped today on the Fightful Select.
There sure was.
That I'm sure blew a lot of people's minds. It did throw me for a loop when I first heard it from Sean a week ago. It was all I could do to keep it a secret, Kate.
well, sneaky little Scoopski Pawlowski over there.
That's right.
It definitely blew my mind, and there's some exciting stuff coming to just regular Fightful. If you aren't select, there's going to be an interview, with Carmelo Hayes, I believe, right?
So no, Bron Breakker.
Oh, with Bron Breakker. Excuse me. So even better. Very exciting stuff. So
that's coming tomorrow, I believe, on the Fightful.
There was a DM with the details that told us that I can go look at right now and make sure we're getting it right.
I'm almost positive that he told me that was what it was, but
I'm sure you're right. Here's what happened. I went and I got myself a very big brownie sundae.
Oh, well,
and
that'll
I'm
do it.
Also on very little sleep because of the Wrestle Kingdom watch along. So, you nailed it. It's tomorrow. It's with Bron Breakker. It's gonna rule.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Also, for those of you who are the Fightful Select subscribers, last night while doing my normal weekly WWE Raw review, my internet just completely crapped out. Vince cut the feed, guys, because he doesn't want me to tell you the truth.
Just like my best friend CM Punk. You're going to have to come in with a bullhorn next time.
That's right.
Do I have everyone's attention now?
So I owe you guys the rest of the review, and Kate has graciously decided to come along. So after we do this, at the 2-hour mark, we're just going to head on over to Fightful Select and gab about Omos squashing AJ Styles and other things. So, it should be, it'll be interesting. Boy, oh boy. So, yes, the New Year's Evil it was tonight. It was very evil.
Very nice, very evil.
Yeah.
We can make Danhausen references this whole night. I didn't even think about that, Alex.
We could. We have some Hooper chats to begin with. JW Pringle immediately starts with Happy New Year, Kate's mom and dad. May 2022 bring you nothing but happiness. So that's very nice, JW Pringle. The saga of JW Pringle and your parents continues.
It does. Long-term storytelling, because my dad knows what the fuck we're doing over here.
Brandon, freezing in Alberta, says, not sure if this power outage here in -30 temperatures.
What the
perhaps saving me from another mediocre show or not, but I do know the two of you will brighten my evening regardless. Keep cool, Gabagool, and I'll try to keep warm. Yeah, you do that in -30 Celsius, I guess. -30 Celsius, which I don't even know if that we're dumb Americans. We don't know how that
is. It Kelvin?
Yes, that's what it is.
-30 Kelvin.
Yeah. Brian Moore says, I don't watch NXT. I dang sure watch Kalex, though. When I found out about the extra sour Graps, Select was a no-brainer. See, there you go. And with your spirit, he says. Thank you so much, Brian Moore. Let's just get started with the first match, which humped. The first match humped.
Humped, dude.
A lot of humpage in the first match.
So much humpage.
Yeah.
It's a shame this wasn't later because we do have a Blue Chew ad later, and it would just be nice to be like, oh, this humped, easy segue into Blue Chew. But you know what? I don't need the easy way out. We'll get there when we get there. But this match was great. Yep. Great way to start the show. I think this was a better sequenced show than we've seen a lot of on these like premium live events, formerly known as pay-per-views. Yeah. But a lot of people saying this was great. You said we need to rein them in. I agree with you in a lot of ways. But as far as like the actual match card, I thought this was the way it should have been structured. And this opener was awesome. Big part of that.
The night was bookended by two fantastic matches.
Humps.
And everything in the middle I thought was kind of terrible.
This show was a camel because it had two things that humps.
Yeah,
it had
hump, big giant valley, another hump.
Yeah,
that's what a camel looks like. At least a Bactrian camel with the two humps, because the dromedary has the one hump. I remember that from camel class. You. Yeah, I minored in camels. I minored in camels. That's what I had a major in theater arts and a minor in camels.
You're getting a Kate that has not slept and had a brownie sundae. So we're in this together.
Yeah.
This is a roller coaster. But this opening match was great. Carmelo Hayes is so fantastic. It does beg the question to me, what is the point of Trick Williams? Because, and that's not even necessarily a knock on Trick Williams as much as it is Carmelo Hayes has everything he needs by himself to be a star. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to pair that person who has everything with someone else, it needs to be somebody else that has something outstanding that's very different. And I don't think Trick is that guy. I don't think he's doing anything like remarkably different. We talked about if it was like a body guy like Odyssey Jones or something, like that would make a lot more sense. But to me, I thought this was going to be great, but this was a real feather in the clap.
Feather in the clap. There you go.
Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. A feather in the cap of Carmelo Hayes. Roddy Strong, you knew was going to be great. And you knew Carmelo was too, but this, I think, was just a real breakout match and a great start to the show.
Yeah, I guess like, well, let's start out with this. They were originally going to call this the unified title was going to be called the North American Cruiserweight Championship. And I was like, what about the South American cruiserweights? Can they?
No.
Can they compete for it? European cruiserweights? No. Wow, that's Asians. There are a lot of cruiserweights in Asia. No,
not a single Australian.
That's crazy. But they decided, no, I guess instead we're just gonna call whoever wins the new North American champion. And we're just gonna write the cruiserweight title into the sunset. Like it's gone forever. So pour one out, everybody, for the cruiserweight title. It got revived in 2016. It was Hunter's baby, so of course it's gone. That the cruiserweight title is one of the things that got me like really the Cruiserweight Classic was something that really got me back into
cool.
into wrestling a lot, and I loved a lot of those guys there and followed them as they moved into WWE full time. It is a travesty. Mustafa Ali never got to hold that title in the entire time that it existed, because he was the heart and soul of that whole thing. So that's kind of bittersweet for me. But it had a really cool legacy for a while there until they decided not to do cruiserweight stuff anymore. But so that's kind of sad. But the match was great. I thought that Roddy did a great job of making Carmelo look amazing. I will say the second to last move of the night, I don't know what that was supposed to be. Roddy was supposed to do a superplex off the top rope, but then Carmelo reversed it into something, and that something looked like it nearly killed Carmelo Hayes, and then Carmelo made the cover. And while Carmelo was making the cover, Malcolm Bivens was standing on the outside by the apron going like this. So I don't think Malcolm Bivens knew what the hell was going on either, because that was the weirdest friggin' thing I've ever seen. It looked, for all I could tell, it looked like Carmelo got the worst of that. And
I'm not sure what that counter was supposed to be either. But that was the set. There were 2 times in the night where I was like, this is pretty good. And then this match was great. But then like the last move or the second to last move. What Sean had called it out as a avalanche plex. I don't know what the counter was supposed to be, but it was like a scary moment, and then it was the go home, or like almost the go home to the match. So I just didn't process what had kind of happened there. But yeah, I think Roddy Strong is great. I feel bad that all of his friends left for a younger, sexier promotion. But
and his wife,
and
she was kicked out she was evicted from the apartment, but he got to stay. That was a weird thing for the landlord to do, huh?
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah,
that's a weird one. But he's just such a great wrestler. That's where this got like a little tricky for me, where I was kind of like, oh, all the things that I did really like about this, because it was better, I think, than a lot of what we've seen. It was definitely better than last week. But a lot of it, I was like, oh, but the things that I liked are still like old NXT or NXT UK things. So not so much, but I think Hayes was pretty fantastic here. And I don't think he's like as ready as Breakaker, but I think his ceiling is extremely high in what he's going to be able to deliver. He needs a little bit more time, I think, to develop, but I think he's great, and I think he's going to do wonderful things. I don't know what you do with Roddy Strong from here. Like, where do you go? I mean, it's Diamond Mine, so I guess you can go a lot of places.
I have a hypothesis about that a little later. But I'll save it for then. I think Carmelo is great, and we'll see what happens with him, because I mean, Swerve Scott is great. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
these people that Vince just goes, I don't get it. Sorry. And I don't know if that's going to happen with Carmelo. I hope it doesn't. I think he's great too. But there's a lot of people. I think Ricochet's great. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what his ceiling is in all of WWE. I think he certainly could be a future NXT champion, depending on how long they have him here. But here's the other thing. I don't know how much longer they can keep a lot of the top young guys in NXT from the main roster, considering like it is abundantly clear that they don't have enough people on the main roster right now. When COVID comes through and wipes everybody out for a week, they have nothing to turn to. They have a bunch of guys who were recently mid-card champions who just get squashed in tag matches like it's nothing, like they don't care about them. They have former WWE champions who aren't being used. Like, it's just, they don't have the right guys. So if you're not gonna use people up there, I still say you should always just do a swap. Send some people from the main roster to NXT for a couple of months. Send some younger guys up there. See if Vince likes them. And if it doesn't work out, you can write them back off of the main roster and back down to NXT. Like, figure out something, because the whole thing feels very stale on the main roster.
Yes, and I think the COVID situation is part of why we got a very long match between like Drew and Madcap Moss or whatever, right? Yeah. There's going to be things like that. My hope with Carmelo Hayes is that maybe he doesn't go the way of the people that we like who are on the main roster that aren't getting pushed, because this is Vince's project now again. So like, if it's the people that he's lining up, hopefully it's people that he's going to properly transition. I don't have any faith in that. And skill does not always correlate to the main roster. Look at AJ Styles, right? Like, what's going on with him right now. Ziggler's another one who I think is phenomenal that just never got used properly. So there's always that risk. But as far as like, if this is Vince's pet project now, hopefully the guys that he sees as great are ones that he will properly utilize on the main roster. So yeah, fingers crossed, but we'll see. And they do need people up there, like, and they need women. God, the SmackDown women's roster is 9 people. I don't even know if they have enough for Rumble.
I mean, I would say yes, they do, and there are some women who are not on this show, who are in NXT, who are main roster ready this very, very second, and could go up there and do stuff if they were allowed to, if they were booked to. Kaylee Ray could go up there and do whatever you need her to be great. Io Shirai could immediately slide in there as a top contender for Charlotte Flair on SmackDown. They already have a history. They faced each other. By pinning Rhea in a triple threat match, she took Charlotte Flair's NXT title from her. Would they ever reference that? No, because there's no continuity between NXT and the main roster, but they have a history they could use if they wanted to. So Io Shirai could show up on SmackDown on Friday, because they who knows what they're doing with Charlotte right now. Dakota Kai went up there from dark matches and was basically told, "Nah, we're good." But she's great. She could do anything.
Toni Storm did all control delete herself from the company, so there is that. So that's like a creative thing that couldn't be foreseen as much, but
that's why they don't have anybody up there. But the whole thing is that, to me, if you have Charlotte up there, you need a minimum of 2 viable candidates to start a feud with her. Now, I would argue with the second one is obviously Sasha Banks, but they seem to be wanting to keep her away from Charlotte at least for a while. Maybe that's the plan, to do a match between them at Mania or something. But like, you need to have, they don't have anybody there. Tony left. It was like the only one they have around is Aaliyah, and she hasn't been on TV since November.
Oh yeah. I mean, what's really sad is I completely forgot. My hope is that Bayley is closer to return than we think, but I'm wondering if my head now is in one of 2 things. We're either going to get the 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way that we should be getting at Mania, or she and Sasha are going to be like, hey, remember when we introduced the tag team belts and now what the hell has happened to them? Yeah. And then try and rejuvenate that division. But that is going to need a lot more women if they're going to do that. Like, you need, let me do the math, double the amount of women, because they're tag teams. So I think that could be a really cool angle. And for the love of God, let's let Sasha Banks get a win at WrestleMania. But I think that like Saray, we haven't seen Saray in forever. I don't know what NXT UK is anymore. Like, so you're right. And that there are people that are main roster ready. And I don't even know what main roster ready means anymore, though. I guess that's where I'm at, is what does main roster ready mean? Because Raquel could also go up. But are you going to use her? Like, what's the point of these things? So I'm sure we'll see people in the Rumble from NXT go, debut, and then come back down.
Yeah.
What brand is Shayna on? I can't even remember. She's on
SmackDown.
She's on SmackDown. So she and Charlotte should have a feud. That would be great.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do Shayna versus Charlotte, heel versus heel. It's just not a thing they're going to do. I agree. It could produce some really great matches, but they're not going to do that. That's not the thing they're going to do.
Well, she's going to, I guess Naomi, but like, is she just going to hunt her?
Naomi and Sonya are just going to destined to do this literally for the rest of time and never have a match against each other. That's what's happening with Naomi. Oh boy. Yeah. So I think Carmelo Hayes is the right choice to move to have this be the thing for him. That's cool. He can keep saying he's the A champion.
Here's my only thing with that. Diamond Mine is not, unless you have the Creed brothers go win the Dusty Classic, which we'll get to. They're just looking a little bit weak right now. I need them to start getting back to some wins, because it used to be like undefeated champion, Ivy Niles, a pair of biceps. Like, we have to get back to them looking like a force if they're going to continue to be a stable, I think.
I agree. I'll tell you what I would do, honestly, and this might make some people sad. I would disband them pretty quickly.
How many times are we just gonna ruin Malcolm Bivens' stable?
No. You're gonna send Malcolm Bivens to the main roster. Raw, and he's gonna be Omos's guy. He's gonna be the guy who talks for Omos, because Omos can't talk, and they decided they're gonna put Omos over strong over AJ Styles. They want him to be something. He's not going to be anything unless you give him a manager. And they actually worked together on the Largo loop back in the day. He would come out with Omos when Omos wasn't called Omos and cut promos for him, and then Omos would squash somebody. That's what they would do on the live events.
He can't walk, talk, or wrestle. So like, what are we?
Honestly, they want him to be something. So like,
you Goldberg him with a manager.
If anybody can get him over,
it's Malcolm freaking Bivens. Yeah,
it's
not in like a Seth Rollins
Bivens.
Way. It's like, not. He's not related to Seth.
Because with what you say, like, I need to see the Diamond Mine start picking up some wins and get back to full force. Like, I don't see that happening. Like, Ivy Nile hasn't really wrestled a lot. She's not really part of the women's division. She's not wrestling matches. The Creed brothers have already been kind of nerfed because they've been artificially, we'll talk about this later, their stats have been artificially reduced so they don't look way better than Double Vest and the Beach and Ika Manjiro. They've been nerfed, and I don't like that for them. But that has already happened. I suppose you could book them to win the Dusty Classic, but I feel like they're probably not going to. By the way, we'll just talk about this now. They're doing the Dusty Classic again for the men and the women. The men start in 2 weeks, and the women start next month. We saw something from Joe Gacy, and he was talking about how he and Harlan want to enter, but they want to earn their way into the tournament, which means they're going to kill somebody. I don't know who. And then so they'll probably be in. MSK have to get in it. And the Creed brothers decided to talk some shit to MSK later. So there's that. There's the GYV, I'm sure will be in it. And the Ika Manjiro and the Kushida. I'm sorry, I'm slipping so much into Linda, who's the character that came out on our post day one review on Fightful Select. None of you know Linda, so I'm gonna have to bring her out later in the night to see if anybody's in the chat who remembers Linda from Saturday night and wants to send in a super chat for a jukebox by Linda. I have no problem with that, but there's a lot of people here who do not know who Linda is, and she's very interesting. So,
and by the way, she's here to stay. Like,
yeah, she's not going anywhere.
Pops me, so yeah. I don't really. I said this the other day. It's no offense to you guys. I just don't care because it makes me laugh. So
we're just doing it to pop ourselves, really.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Here's God. I hate that this is named after Dusty because this is like everything Dusty went against as a wrestler. What a lot of these teams are. I like one of my go-to matches is Harley and Dusty too. I got in a fake fight with Cass from Body Slam about this on Twitter. Because he just would only talk about Harley's managerial run for Vader, and I was like, that's not what I was watching. But like Dusty was one of the most nuanced storytellers ever. So yeah, like I hate that this is in his quote unquote honor because it doesn't feel like an honor to him anymore. And I feel like all the teams that he would love are the ones that are going to get left in the dust. Mm-hmm. But yeah, also, I mean, it would be cool if the Creed brothers won this. It would be something. I don't think that's an impossibility because I don't know if there's an obvious choice because the tag division's been just kind of a mess.
Well, and then we have the women's division, the women's tag division.
Which is what?
Which is like 3 teams currently, because I don't know how long Zoe's out, but it's going to be a while. So you currently have
it's like a real injury.
A real injury, like a real like ACL type of thing. Like she's going to be out for a while.
Dr. Io Shirai couldn't expedite the process.
No, she was not able to reconnect her ACL by the laying on of hands. No, she so we have the current tag champs, which is the Toxic Attraction, and then we have the Casey and the Caden, and then we have the Persia and the Indy, and that's it.
Can you hold on 1 second? Because I think for the Dusty Classic, it might be appropriate to introduce Linda to talk about these tag teams and the Dusty Classic and the Jacket Time and various others if she's available.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but the Dusty Classic is named after the Dusty Rhodes. And the Dusty Rhodes and I, we used to date a long time ago, of course. I mean, God rest his soul, he's gone now. We used to date. It was very brief. It was a torrid love affair, but it was very brief. I couldn't get over the lisp. It just something about it. It wouldn't. When you're dating somebody who has a voice that just grates on you, sometimes it just puts a damper on the whole romantic angle. So Dusty, we remained friends, of course, but anyway, no, he's got the Ikemen Jiro, who I like very much. He's that nice boy with the IBS who wears the colorful sport coats. I like him, and the Kushida, who looks like Marty McFly. I like them very much. I'm not sure if that's the Jacket Time. I'm not sure if they're actually going to win the title. But I like the Creed brothers. They're very nice. Brutus and Julius, very nice Italian boys from the Caesar area. And
the Brutus and the Julius.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about some of the people who were there, and the GYV, the grizzled young veterans. I like them very much. They're from Liverpool, which is where the Beatles are from. I'm a very big Beatles fan. Anyway, I don't want to take up all your time, so I'm gonna exit. Maybe I'll come back later if anybody wants. So,
for those of you who weren't there on Tuesday, first of all, shame on you.
Saturday.
I'm sorry, Saturday. Shame on you. But also, this all started because commentary kept referring to Migos
as the Migos.
And I was like, that's just the most old person thing in the world. And then Linda was born, so now she's here to stay, so get used to it.
The Migos and the RK Bro, they're best friends, you understand. They have so much in common, you understand. Yeah.
And for those of you who were here Saturday and want to hear a fun fact, my insomniac ass was direct messaging Alex on Twitter because like 80 different things. He just got all the thoughts that were in my head. So thanks for being my therapist. But I went to get a brownie sundae and I saw Linda in the flesh because I live in Jersey. So I'm going to run into Linda. But she was talking about the coleslaw and talking about every ingredient in the coleslaw with the mayo. I was trying so hard to get audio, but because of social distancing, I wasn't able to. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was very exciting though.
Yeah. It was. So we decided that she's like half Harvey Firestein and half Linda Richmond from Mike Myers' thing from 1993 in SNL. And that's
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. The North American Cruiserweight title is neither North American nor Cruiserweight. Discuss.
I compared the name of that, the original name for that title, by the way, to when they named the California Angels the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, because when that is translated, it means the Angels of Anaheim. Mm-hmm. And it's too long.
The grizzled young veterans are neither grizzled nor young nor veterans. Discuss.
Thank you for that.
NXT makes us a little verklempt.
Oh my god, all of it does. It does. Here's what makes me interested. We got Bron Breakker entering, and then we see Tommaso Ciampa in the locker room, and AJ Styles shows up, and AJ Styles is all dressed to wrestle. And they have some very friendly words back and forth. And he says, I'm gonna go take care of something. And like Ciampa's like, Grayson Waller, like, you do that for me. He's like, yeah, and you retain your title. And I'm like, everything about the AJ Styles appearance tonight on the NXT 2.0, to me, felt long-term. It did not feel like a let's show up and let's put over Grayson Waller one time and then move back to. It felt like he's doing a Finn Balor for a while. It felt like he's going to do his run in NXT now. And the interaction between he and Tommaso Ciampa seems friendly, but also could be a rivalry. And Roddy Strong has nothing to do. I wonder if there's going to be at least this is how I would book it, an unofficial old heads division in NXT 2.0, where the guys that we love from NXT 1.5 can just basically have an informal round robin tournament where they get to have bangers every couple of weeks. And maybe they'll get into contention for a title, but they're not actually going to win it. They'll just make the young kids look good, because this is really a developmental thing. But for so many people who miss that, they want to still see those people. And there's no place for Tommaso Ciampa on the main roster. He's going to get lost. They won't actually use him, right? There's no place for Roddy Strong in the main roster. Pete Dunne, there's not a place for him. But you could have this kind of a thing where all these people get to face each other because they can be the work rate guys, even though they're the oldest people on the roster. And I would love it, because they specifically they could have had AJ Styles show up to the ring, but they made sure they teased a relationship, a friendly rivalry between him and Tommaso Ciampa. And Tommaso Ciampa says as he walks away, welcome back to NXT, because AJ Styles showed up on one episode of NXT in 2019. But to me, there's an opening there for that. And it does not feel like, for all intents and purposes, right now, AJ Styles' story on Raw is done. Like, what happened to him last night could be a writing off from Raw. And now he could be an NXT guy for 6 months, a year. Like, I mean, it's a travesty that he's showing up at NXT now and not 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it would have been all kinds. Like, we never got to see AJ Styles versus Johnny Gargano, and we probably never will see it. And that's just that's a tragedy on par with like Mount Vesuvius. Like it's as bad as terrible lava killing many people. That's how bad it is. We never got to see Johnny Gargano versus AJ Styles.
I just no thanks. I don't want that. Those are guys, just utilize them on the main roster instead.
But they won't, but they don't, and they shan't.
Also, what happens to their pay?
I think,
like, I'm so intrigued by that, because NXT isn't like
no, but if they're signed to a contract with WWE, I feel like that continues. And if they were to sign a new NXT exclusive deal, like, I don't know when AJ's contract is up, but if it's soon, just like leave, AJ, please. Just go.
Go fight Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, go.
Please
yeah,
give
go
us that somewhere, someday.
Anywhere else. Yeah.
Go to ROH. Oh no.
Yeah.
I just I don't want that. like, because then we're back to schizophrenic NXT of what the hell is this product supposed to be? Yeah. Like, it would be my favorite thing on the show, but but you know what? Then don't have an unofficial old heads division. Have an official old heads division so that I know.
Yeah.
And I can just wait. What if Samoa Joe is cleared again and we get AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe?
I mean, like,
but why are we getting that on NXT? Like, there's.
I honestly,
I'm just gonna say I think AJ Styles is pretty well developed at this point.
Yes, I honestly think that USA is pissed. This is not what they signed up for, and I think if I'm somebody with WWE and I can convince somebody like AJ Styles to come to NXT, and I can say, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. It is going to be a developmental thing, but every week we're going to put on some great stuff featuring actual seasoned talent. They will occasionally interact with the young people, but they'll also be kind of their own deal as well. That we can always count on. There's going to be some match that's going to be spectacular, guaranteed, no botches, like that kind of a thing that will maybe allow some people to come back to NXT. Like, there's absolutely an audience out there that would follow AJ Styles if he was going to be in NXT and guaranteed to wrestle people like Pete Dunne and Tommaso Ciampa. You know, like, there's somebody out there who would actually do that. It would keep people from hemorrhaging away from this product as it gets worse and worse and worse every week.
I just said kill the TV thing and put me and Alex out of our misery.
I mean, listen. The USA Network is probably not
the USA Network.
The USA Network. Let me tell you, the USA Network. I'm sure they're very upset about all this because they were sold a bill of goods, and that bill of goods has not materialized. And so I understand. One time, I ordered something from a nice little boutique. And they were supposed to send me this little tchotchke. He's a little nice little boy. He was standing by a well. He's got a little pail of water, and it didn't show up. And I was sold something at this little boutique, and they said they were going to send it to me. They said it was lost in the mail, and I said, "Bull pucky" is what I said. I said the actual thing, but I don't want to say it online.
Yeah,
like I was really just sitting next to this woman.
So AJ is comes out and he cuts a the fans are very excited to see him. They love it. They love the AJ Styles. That is
who doesn't love the AJ Styles?
Yeah. Everyone loves the AJ Styles.
He's so stylish.
But he
so fashionable. I love his hair. Actually, I think he goes to the same place that I do. Actually,
I think that AJ is coming here to put over Grayson Waller, and then I think Grayson Waller is headed to the main roster before I think AJ Styles is headed back there. Like they
I'm gonna barf. I'm gonna puke.
I'm not saying I like it. You don't have to like it, but you have to accept it. It's sometimes we don't get the things that we want in life. Kate, I understand. I love you, but sometimes you just gotta grit and bear it.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of done with the whole Waller thing, but I mean, I'm sure that like 40% of those boos he got when he came out to confront AJ Styles were piped in because that is not how loud that place is. I'm
gonna switch back to the chats because Louise said that we have a lot of people pouring in love for us, and I just need like a break from how sad this idea is because AJ Styles in NXT would have been really cool even just like a year ago. But Spencer Green says, "Hello, Team Kalex. Yeah. I wanted to send this during the AEW post show, but couldn't because of work. So here's my complimentary thank you for your recommendations for Brooklyn because I watched them. I I then watched Respect, which is also really good. Yeah, that whole takeover
era is so good.
That was a really generous super chat. So thank you, Spencer
Thank you
Green,
so
and
much.
thank you for the kind words. We have J.K. Schwal saying death taxes and Spectrum losing Wi-Fi in Milwaukee area at 12:30 a.m. once a month. My Wi-Fi also not great. I got a very pixelated women's match, which is maybe why I don't have as many complaints about it as Alex said.
Yeah.
But thank you, J.K. Schwaller. Chris Rain sending in a humper chat saying Sour Graps was amazing, and Vince did cut the feed because he couldn't handle the truth coming out. Alex is going to start sitting down like Indian style in the center of the ring, like my boy CM Punk.
Yep.
It feels like a bait and switches with look Brock versus Lashley. Don't look over here at Big E. Yeah,
it does.
We'll talk about that on the post of the show, I'm sure, because my heart is broken. Shabugan, Kate going from no sleep during Wrestle Kingdom to this podcast and more time on Select is a bigger feat than Danielson skinning the cat at 59 minutes.
Oh, it's
buddy.
true.
No, it ain't. Skinning the cat at 59 minutes into that match especially. There's not enough caffeine in the world that could give me that ab strength, but thank you. Also, 30 degrees Celsius is 22 Fahrenheit. Your temperature scale sucks. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Viking wife with a humper chat saying, having a rough week, but dear Lord, I needed Linda tonight. Darling, we all need Linda. Let me tell you, my family is from New Jersey, and I swear when you do Linda, all I hear is my mother-in-law. All I hear is my aunts, buddy. I hear you. Thanks for the laugh. And Mr. Showtime chiming in saying, love the glasses, Kate. Well, thank you very much. I got them from lingo.com, Liingo, because you get two eyes. You get it?
Yeah.
But they let you renew your prescription without going to an eye doctor, which I wanted to do during COVID. But you shouldn't do all the time because your eye health is important. But during COVID, I was like, I don't want to go put my eyes on a bunch of machines. So, and I'll read this one because it's from my dad. Happy New Year to Team K-Lex, the Fightful Faithful, and of course, her Pringle. Indeed. Anyway, let's get back to the pain.
So Grayson Waller gets booed a lot, and he yells. He's actually very good at just handling himself through all the the crap that's getting thrown at him by the fans. It just none of it feels earned. Like he lost every match. They turned him heel out of nowhere. He hit an elbow during the a flying elbow through a table during War Games, and then he retired Johnny Gargano from NXT. It just felt like it was like, you're supposed to feel this way about this guy because we say so, and I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he's a C+ player now with a B+ ceiling. And I don't know if he's ever going to reach it, but like, you have to believe this guy is really special to be doing the stuff you're doing with him, including this, maybe a one-off match, maybe a feud with AJ Styles, where AJ, is made fun of by Grayson Waller for losing to Omos last night, excuse me. And so, hey, I am beat up. Why don't you be a man and take advantage of the situation? Come in the ring and let's have a match. And Grayson Waller, of course, fakes like he's going to, and then gets out of the thing. And he says, we're going to have a match next week. So that's going to be the main event of next week. Wait, hold on one second. As was said by Jay Blood, AJ is jobbing to Grayson Waller. Bring on the Comet. Like, this is it. We've had a good run. Society, we've had a good run. It's time for us to go now, because this is the end.
So I've said that I think Grayson Waller should be healed for a very long time.
Sure.
And I agree with that. I think he's better in this role. My problem with this segment fundamentally was that a heel would do exactly what AJ Styles said, which is take advantage of the fact that you have a weakened person in front of you and beat the ever living shit out of them. So my problem with the segment alone was that, like, if you're a bad guy and your face opponent is weakened, you go and take advantage of it in the ring, backstage. You take advantage of people being weakened. That's like heel 101. I think Grayson Waller is going to get better. My issue with the developmental piece of this is you're saying that to be a face or a heel, you have to be an entirely different person. And I hate to go across the pond all the time, but like one thing I think AEW does very well is that it's just perception changes. You can be the same guy. Like Grayson Waller could have been the same guy and not just suddenly hated independent wrestling and everything it stood for, and just had his perception change. What Danielson's doing now, what Eddie Kingston does is so well. Like just these little switches. All you have to do is book them against other people and justify an attitude change, and that's it. And that's not how it works in WWE, and I don't like that because you're telling me it's an entirely different person with the same name. This is something that Owens does very well. This is something that Rollins, I think, does very well until he got so cartoonish in this last run, but I'm having fun with it. Sami Zayn does this extremely well. Like, you can be the same guy, acknowledge your changes. Like, I love that Owens is every time he turns face from being a heel, he's like, you know what? I was a real dick just then. Like, I love that. Like, you should be able to acknowledge that. So that's just frustrating to me. I understand it's developmental and they're gonna find that foundation or whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think Waller's doing okay with it. I just don't like what it is that they're doing.
Yeah. Shabugan sends an upper chat saying, if AJ Styles, top 5 wrestler of all time, in all caps, is going to be part of this green crap for an extended period of time, I'm going to start throwing up and maybe never stop.
Crying and screaming and throwing up. I hear you.
Yeah.
I just don't. This is the other thing. Is it's like, okay, what happens when AJ Styles' contract ends? Like, we desperately need a real alternative, and I don't consider Impact a real alternative because of the way they operate, not because of what they're putting on. But they put belts on champions who aren't signed to the company. Yeah. But like, I'm so excited Jake Atlas got signed to AEW. We're getting real full over there. So, like, there's going to be people that want to leave WWE, and AEW isn't going to be an option. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know when AJ's contract is up anyway, but like, we'll talk about Jeff Hardy later. That was a guy who just didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Same with Tony Storm.
Yeah.
So if I'm AJ Styles, I'm like, and I have retirement money now.
Yeah.
And I could go back to New Japan and be a huge deal. Like, why am I bothering? He could go keep me up at night, literally, at like 2 a.m. to start a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Agreed. Next week, Grayson Waller and AJ Styles is the main event on a show that also features, apparently, Pete Dunne versus Tony D in a crowbar on a pole match, which was like the during a little video package. Pete Dunne basically challenged him to it. I want you in the ring next week. Bring your crowbar, and apparently they're going to bring it and put it on a pole, and whoever gets it gets to use it. I mean, I don't know if Vince Russo is booking this episode of NXT next week, but we'll see. That should be a lot of fun. I thought the first match was really great. They're
building a feud, which is neat,
which is cool. I guess
they haven't done that a ton. And it let me make a bunch of jokes about the wrestler Crowbar, who's a very, 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 very cool human being. Yeah. It was a really good wrestler too, and is still doing a lot of stuff in the Northeast. So
yes,
I don't know how they're going to get him on that pole.
Neither do I. The TikTok tag team is talking to Amari Miller. Backstage.
Are they still the TikTok tag team? Or are they the Raven? Are they the Craven Rave team?
I believe that you and I should continue to refer to them as the TikTok tag team in perpetuity forever, because that's too good of a name to miss.
The TikTok tag team.
The TikTok tag team. When I first heard about it, I wondered, are they watchmakers? What is this, the TikTok? I'm not really sure. I barely got onto the Facebook last year. So I'm behind the times. Excuse me. I had a niece a long time ago. She told me, Auntie Linda, you have to get on the MySpace. And I waited too long. And when I finally tried to, there was no more MySpace. So then I finally got on the Facebook. I really don't know about the TikTok. But apparently these two very small, very petite young ladies are on the TikTok. And then there was this other lady. She was talking to them. And then there was two very statuesque women with the Australian accents. And they came over. And they said, well, we want to fight you. And then they said, well, there are 3 of us and 2 of you. Why don't you get a friend? And then there was this woman who was sleeping. I suppose she says, do I look like a ham sandwich? And I said, no, you don't look like a ham sandwich. You look like a sleeping lady. And that was this segment.
Have you heard of the Vine? It's my understanding that the Vine and the TikTok are very similar. So if you're wondering what the TikTok is, it's very similar to the Vine.
I love this because this is no longer Moni. Moni is a different thing.
You gave her a name.
It's subtle. Her name is Sheila. I've decided that this is Sheila. Linda
she can
and
be
Sheila.
The aunt of Moni.
Linda and Sheila were best friends when they lived right down the street from each other. Mm-hmm. But then Sheila had to move to Rockaway, and they never see each other anymore. But they talk on the phone every day because it's very important to stay into contact with your friends. Because you never know when the last time you're going to say bye-bye is. You never know. This world is so crazy.
It's so true. And you know what? Ryan Sullivan sent out a Humper chat that says, I think you should workshop some more characters for Kate. Well, this isn't like a huge departure from Moni.
No, but they're similar, but they are different. Yeah.
But they are different. I think she could be a second aunt of Moni's, but Sheila is here.
Yeah.
And she's here to talk to you about the Vine and the TikTok. And I think there's this Reels on the Instagram.
Yeah. Well, no, Cyclops is better than Wolverine, which is a hot take. Now he says that we should go to the Tout. The Tout apparently is a thing, or at least it was at one point. I'm not really sure anymore, but we should go to the Tout.
We should go to the Tout. These Joyzy ladies crack me up, says Volop. You're the best. And Jay Blood chiming in saying, props to Kate for taking my recommendation for the Brownie Blast after no sleep and another Wrestle Kingdom watch along ahead. A real one for sure. Thank you. I am a real one. And that brownie, oh my God, this brownie thing, let me tell you, it was so delicious. I sat down, I went to the Chimney Rock Inn. I needed a little something. Just a little something sweet.
Uh-huh.
So I sit down and I have a delicious pulled pork sandwich. It was like the only thing I ate all day. I'm very off when I've had the insomnia. And so I sit down. The waitress, what a doll. She was such a sweetheart. I don't know what to get for dessert. So I put it out on the Twitter. I said, what should I have? And they gave me tons of suggestions. Mm-hmm. I couldn't choose, even with the Twitter. Mm-hmm. A lot of the ads coming my way. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But so I played the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I got a brownie blast. Delicious.
Yeah.
I don't care about NXT, and I'm very invested in Sheila and Linda, so this is just gonna get interesting.
Okay. So
the TikTok tag team, this segment was a disaster. Like, what is Wendy Chu doing? Like,
I don't know.
Nobody talks like this. Why was Tiffany Stratton there?
Tiffany Stratton says, no, I don't want to team with you, Indy and Persia. I'd rather look terrible in my singles matches. But
the Tiffany Stratton, I've heard, I don't know, do you hear the Tiffany Stratton? She's got daddy issues. It's really terrible because I don't think it's not my place to say. But the Wendy Chu has the narcolepsy, and that's not great because when you have the narcolepsy, it just hits you at any time. But I can't believe that she went from Mei Ying, a 5,000-year-old dragon lady, to a woman who sleeps a lot. That was what they did with old Karen Q, I believe. I don't know what all this is. We're getting a triple threat a 6-woman tag next week.
Probably to set up something for the Dusty, I guess.
That's where I'm guessing.
I don't know. Bleh.
I just well, I saw Tiffany Stratton's family at the country club because they play the tennis, when I go to tennis on Tuesdays. She only had the one match and it wasn't great. And I guess her 205 Live match was better, which is good to hear. But this just doesn't work for me. Like, you're a grown woman. What is with the daddy stuff? And I don't get it. And Wendy too. Here's how I would like Wendy too with this narcolepsy gimmick where she just falls asleep all the time everywhere. I would like this if we went back to Drifter Elias and they were both in the background of every scene and she was just sleeping and he was playing guitar and they didn't acknowledge it, but like for like 6 months. Like it has to be really, really long.
Yep. We got our Imperium versus MSK and Riddle match. Let's talk first about who it was supposed to be instead of Riddle. It was supposed to be Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was supposed to be the shaman. Apparently, they had filmed a whole bunch of stuff with Jeff Hardy and had to just scrap it because they fired him because apparently they said go to rehab and he said no, so they fired him. But as you pointed out, Kate, and I'll let you finish this, that seems to be kind of hypocritical considering who the shaman appeared to be.
So Jeff Hardy, what we know is he walked out of a taping live, right? That's basically what happened.
He left the ringside area and went into the stands and took selfies with fans during a tag match that he was involved in.
That's actually a very nice way to say fuck you to a company, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of.
Good for him. So here's the thing. Jeff Hardy has had quite a battle with addiction. It's been well documented. We all know it. Mm-hmm. When he came back, they did like a drunk driving angle. Mm-hmm. Right around the time he was released, and it was made very public that they offered him rehab and they would pay for it. He was talking about how he was actually doing really well on Stone Cold's show. I'm not going to lay out the obvious conspiracy theory that's in front of me, but I don't know if the shaman is somebody that was like, hey, come do drugs with me. Or as I pointed out, like they don't know what weed is. So it seemed like it was supposed to actually be some sort of like LSD trip. And he's in recovery. Maybe he didn't want to fucking do that. Maybe that just seemed like not a great idea.
Maybe we don't know, but it did not look good.
Doesn't look good. I mean, Alex and I had talked about this before, and he countered with the point that maybe it was going to be like a bad 90s PSA
maybe they only did the really heavy drug jokes when it was Riddle who took over because we haven't seen in any of these vignettes they shot with Hardy, but maybe it was like, okay, well, Riddle's the stoner on Raw. Like he should be into it. He should be into like partying with the MSK. But maybe when it was supposed to be Jeff Hardy was supposed to go like, hey guys, you don't need all these supplies in your fanny pack full of drugs. What you actually need is each other. You need to be confident in yourselves and trust in each other. And that's how you're going to be a great tag team. Maybe that was it. I mean, I don't think anybody should ever give them the benefit of the doubt, but it certainly doesn't make a lot of sense for them to find the shaman, and the shaman is Jeff Hardy, who we know has a history of drug abuse. And he's like, hey, dudes, let's show up and let's totally do some drugs. Hint, hint.
Doesn't really feel like a good way to do it. Stoke fires in the chat about like whether or not he relapsed or not. My point is whether or not he was supposed to execute the angle Alex talked about or the thing that I came up with. Mm-hmm. Either way, not everyone wants their like drug recovery or sobriety propped up in a storyline multiple times in their comeback. Yeah. And it's not like his booking was so great on the main roster. And he was getting monster pops despite that bad booking everywhere he went. He lost to Veer.
Yeah.
Veer. And then 50-50 with Karrion Kross and got pushed out. So my thing is, if it was a PR move or some sort of weird catfish thing by WWE, that's one of the most disgraceful things. And this is like a very important topic to me, as is mental health and wrestling in general, but addiction especially is something that's really important to me. Like, if you're going to bring someone's recovery or drug use portrayed on television when they have real life issues with that, either A, just fucking don't, or B, like, do it with some clarity and some sensitivity, because whether he was supposed to be a PSA announcement, which is insulting in one way, probably, or maybe something he just didn't want to do, or whether he was going to be some like drug hoarder, not great. And so either way, it just feels like a really, really bad idea.
Right.
I would say this. I feel like Jeff Hardy and MSK, from a ring style perspective or the type of tag team wrestling they are, makes way more sense than Riddle. Like, ring wise, that makes so much more sense. But I just think, like, I gave them a ton of credit initially of like, I think it's really cool that you offered to pay for someone's rehab on their way out. I think that's a really good thing. But like, man, it doesn't sound like it was that cut and dry from everything that has surfaced. And I'll actually take this moment to plug our friend John Alba, who is doing a fantastic, we talked about it in depth on the Shining Wizards podcast yesterday. He's doing a very big deep dive with Matt Hardy into Matt Hardy's own career and how it connects to present day wrestling. Like, it's not just a nostalgia podcast, but Jeff Hardy showed up and they talked about how he's doing and the current status of things. So, you know, it doesn't sound, and by the way, not every relapse warrants a trip back to rehab also. So there is that to consider. Some people can get themselves back on track without rehab. Right. But this whole thing just feels like a really muddy mess. And I just feel like it's really, really distasteful for someone to use their sobriety or their previous drug use as like a character way, if they aren't completely agreeing to it, which he clearly was not. So that's just disgusting to me.
Jay Blood says maybe Matt Hardy saying that when people know the story, they'll understand that Jeff is okay makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not really sure. If he did have a relapse, who's to say that filming a whole bunch of stuff where he's supposed to be a druggie didn't spark something in him? You know, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not reporting anything. Just saying. Anyway, whatever. Here's what I'm saying. We got Riddle instead, and we got this Imperium versus MSK and Riddle match. Riddle, of course,
it's the circle of life, don't you know? Last night on the Raw, the Matt Riddle, he got pinned as one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions by the Otis in a match with the American Alpha, with the Alpha Academy. That's right. And then tonight, he pinned one half of the NXT tag champions in a non-title match. So it's the circle of life. One champion gets pinned one night and then pins another champion another night, because all we do is pin champions here in the WWE. Isn't that nice?
I hated everything about this.
A very studious wrestling fan, which I appreciate. She smoked a lot of cigarettes and watched a lot of wrestling, and I love that about Linda.
My fourth husband was a huge wrestling fan.
And you dated Dusty Rhodes. I mean,
that's true. That's true. That was between 3 and 4. So I got into the Graps with the Dusty that didn't work out. So that I've had 8 husbands. So I hated everything about this, and here's why. If you're gonna do MSK and Matt Riddle versus Imperium, then do that match to the best of their abilities. What you wanted to do was get over MSK, and you used Riddle to do that. But you also, in the process, got under, if that makes sense, Imperium. We saw what Bartel and Eichner can do at at War Games. We saw how great they are as a tag team. I saw virtually none of that in this match. They were working half speed occasionally. And Walter, don't get me started on the Walter. That guy, it was like somebody went into the settings on like a WWE 2K game, and like he's an overall 96, but you don't want to actually have him kick your ass when you face him in the match. So you go in as a player who likes to win on easy mode, and you go in and you artificially dial all of his statistics down to 65. And then you can have anybody beat him. Walter did nothing, literally nothing in this match that made him look like the Walter that I saw versus Dragunov. Yeah. I saw winning all those matches when he was NXT UK champion forever. He looked like not himself. He looked like he was doing a softer version of himself. He looked, dare I say it, Kate, like the Walter we saw in that Survivor Series match from 3 years ago, who got pinned in like 3 minutes, and like the Walter who had a one-on-one match with Seth Rollins at a show they did at a Raw they did in England somewhere. He had a one-on-one match. Rollins was the WWE champion at the time, and he was the NXT UK champion. And they were like, let's have a match. And so they did. And 2.5 minutes into it, they were setting up Seth Rollins to do a stomp and beat Walter. Like he had been beaten up immediately by Seth Rollins. And of course, Imperium had to come in and beat up Seth Rollins to set up some kind of multi-man tag match. But Rollins was going to beat Walter in 2.5 minutes. And guess who agented that shit? So this is who Walter is in Vince's WWE. This is who he thinks Walter is, and I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know in the chat, because I actually got a couple people on Twitter asking this, agenting a match means basically like just putting a match together, how it's structured, how it's going to unfold. Almost like a director, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. So that's what agenting a match is. But here's the thing with this too, like the most surprising part about seeing like Diet Walter instead of Full Force Walter, I went to the same place that you did where I was just like, man, what we saw versus Dragunov was quite literally like one of the best wrestling matches I've seen. Definitely a match of the year candidate for 2021. It was in my top 5. But this was not that. And Riddle is so capable of taking punishment. He trained MMA. So of all the people to go easy on, it's not that guy. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Riddle character, but between the ropes, I think he's great. And he can certainly
and he's really great at taking bumps and selling.
Yes, he's fantastic at that. He really is.
Like it felt like Walter was in there like, they told me not to hurt you. That Randy Orton would be very, very upset if I were to kill you, so I'm not allowed to kill you. So I'm just going to chop you like this. Is that too hard? Because that's as much as they're allowing me to do. It's terrible.
So I think the most disappointing part about this was just like, I thought it was going to be hard. You know what I mean? And it was a little soft.
I thought it was going to be like the match of the night.
I did too.
I thought they were going to let these guys take the chains off and just go, man. And they didn't. They did the opposite. They were like, let's.
Alex, do you know of anything that somebody could use if they're trying to like get hard and they're just listen. Little soft?
After watching this match, I felt so flaccid. And there's only one thing to do, only one remedy when you feel flaccid.
I hear you. Times are rough. We just got out of a wild situation, a wild year, and people are saying, you know what, it's a hard knock life. But I disagree. Instead, I believe it's a hard cock life when you use Blue Chew and the code Fightful, and you get your first shipment free. Free? All you got to do is pay $5 shipping. Blue Chew is made with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work, but they work on your schedule. Full stomach, empty stomach, ready to go, want to get in the mood. Blue Chew has you covered. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked? I don't think so. More like somebody's getting dicked when you use BlueChew.com. No awkward conversations with the doctor. Because, I mean, I'm all about not being awkward. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. It's because they work with their online physicians to get the active ingredient you need, and it ships straight to your door. BlueChew.com and the code Fightful gets you your first shipment free. That's how confident they are. Free. Use that promo code Fightful. Hardcock Life.
I've said a lot of times with Sean that he always operates with integrity, and as far as the shit that he receives versus what you guys see, the amount that's below the iceberg, and he always handles it so well. And I sometimes forget how fucking legendary he is on ad reads like that. He's so good at his job part of that, but he treats this Blue Chew ad with the same integrity and love and care. I just appreciate the effort that he puts into every facet of his job, including that wonderful Blue Chew read. We do have some super chats about this,
yes.
Alex.
Shabugan says that I missed your first Blue Q, and I guess I missed I was always going to do it after this match because it make me feel so flaccid. I don't know what the first one was.
I said I thought this match was going to go hard and it went soft, but that was okay. It got to where it needed to go. Long-term storytelling.
Marco Dominguez says tonight the role of Walter will be played by Dominic Mysterio.
No.
That's harsh even for me. The Nerd Guru says, glad we got to see a preview of the main roster, Walter losing in random 6-man tags and then being pinned by Omos at some point. Oh, God. Oh, no. It's going to happen.
It's so annoying. You and Joel Pearl.
Yeah.
You're right about things that shouldn't happen, and I'm convinced you're manifesting them. Stop putting things like that in the world, but thank you for the super chat.
I'm trying to do it. James Nepper says, easy way to solve this. Let's go back and look at the boots. Remember when the Shaman was wearing combat boots in that silhouette, and then the next week he was barefoot? I wonder if those were Jeff Hardy's feet in the combat boots. Not sure. Shabugan says again, thank you, Shabugan, for all of these humper chats.
Yeah.
What's more likely, that WWE was going to do an angle that was an anti-drug PSA using a person with addiction issues, or that they were going to make light of his addiction issues? And then he says, I'm going to point to jacket time for no reason now.
That's fair. And even if it was the PSA thing, not everybody wants to constantly be talking about their recovery.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't want to be doing it in a, hey man, you shouldn't do drugs way. Come on.
JW Pringle says, don't forget what they did to Matt, Lita, and Edge years ago. In WWE, your personal life and struggles are cannon fodder for Vince's amusement. Well, they certainly do like to keep take. The
only thing I will say about that was such an overarching story in wrestling that wasn't in wrestling, Matt calling into the hotline show and stuff like that. It was almost like if they were going to rehire Matt Hardy, they were going to have to do this because there was just no way around it. There was no way around it. So while I agree, and they certainly didn't need to have a live sex show about it at any point, that one was just so... There was just no way you were going to be able to make people forget about that. I don't think anybody thinks about Jeff Hardy's drug addiction on a daily basis, except for maybe his loved ones and people who are very concerned that he's okay in real life. But that was just such a very, very public thing that it was we have to do this if we're going to do it.
I'm gonna get through all these other random things before we get to the last two matches of the night.
Sure.
We got Elektra Lopez interviewed, and he's like, "What? Would you have any comment about Zion Quinn?" It's like, "Oh, you'd like me to comment, wouldn't you?"
And he's like, "That's my job."
And anyway, so whatever. She's like, family is more important, except for when there's a hot guy. Is basically what she said. She's like, family is most important, but sometimes somebody catches your eye and makes you question everything you know. So family isn't the most important. It's just a hypothetical hot guy. So she says that it's next week. It's Santos Escobar versus Zion Quinn, and whoever wins, she's going to leave with, which is just like, then let's put her in a freaking shark cage, or put her as we already got a forklift, a crowbar and a pole match. Let's do an Electra Lopez on a forklift match, according to Luis Polito. That's a good way of doing that. Why not do that? So that's the thing we're going to have next week. Next week is a fairly loaded show. I mean, loaded in that there are a lot of things already announced, not loaded in like there was going to be good stuff. Because also next week, Boa is trying to make himself stay Boa. The way he's doing it is he's constantly splashing water on his face. And I guess the reason he's doing that is that if his face is wet, it's really hard for the ghost to apply the makeup to his face. Like, I guess that's why if the face is wet, the makeup won't stay. Maybe that's why he's doing it.
Well, he needs to talk to Hunter then, because Hunter is just always wet.
Yeah. Please, he says, just let me, myself, defeat Solo Sikoa next week. And then Boa Stang shows up in the mirror with him. So like it's like that time where like Hogan saw the Ultimate Warrior in the mirror behind him and goes, ah! Except for Boa didn't do that.
Or when Shayna saw a doll. Remember when Shayna saw Lily?
Yeah.
How come they're developing this gimmick and then they fired everybody who's come up with a gimmick like this?
I don't know.
Like this looks to me, this has looked like, hey, we really fucked up by releasing Malachi Black. Let's try and do exactly what he did, but make it bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they fired Bray Wyatt.
It's like Mojo Rawley. Remember when Mojo Rawley had that weird lightning face paint and would just like cut promos in the mirror for no reason?
Well, yeah, he was just so hyped.
It's not good. It's not great. Then we got a continuation. We got a Cameron Grimes video package, which is fine. It makes us remember who Cameron Grimes is, I guess.
Yeah, but Alex, what year is it?
2022.
2022.
Oh, did he say that? I kind of tuned it out. Yeah, whatever. I like Cameron Grimes.
Stop it. Rules.
I like Cameron Grimes a lot. I feel like they haven't really done enough to. I thought he was going to be one of Vince's guys. Like he's funny. He's naturally like he's got a fun little gimmick, like everything. And Vince was like, "No, cut his hair, make him more normal." And I was like, aren't you the silly gimmick dude? It's a weird thing.
Like none of that has to do with selling 2022 the moon.
I guess I've kind of not soured on him, but like I don't really care about what Cameron Grimes is right now.
It's hard to be invested in that.
Like I was like, oh, that's Cameron Grimes, and then I was able to like take some more notes about other things that happened on the show. Like it was like, oh, okay. And I'm assuming there's no new information in this, and there really wasn't.
I'm not saying I'm better at this, but I am saying 2022 right. The moon made it into my notes.
True. Now we got a multi-segment little storyline for what passes for one. Andre Chase comes out, and he wants to say thank you to his student who tried to save his life. And he's going to give him a full scholarship, the first ever full scholarship to Chase University, which I will remind you is a thing that doesn't actually exist. There's no university. It's all a sham. It's all a fraud.
But they're giving out the scholarships. That's what I'm so confused
about. I don't think it's even worth the paper it's printed on, sweetie. Take that to a notary. See if it's real.
I think this is fine and everything. And like, are they turning Andre Chase babyface because he was like, hey, this student tried to save me, so I'm going to do something nice for him. I thought they were going to have the student come down, say he's going to do something nice for him, like, and then slap him, like, now next time, stay out of my affairs or something. But he didn't, because Von Wagner came out and wanted to beat up Andre Chase just because, I guess, and then he went out and tossed that one student from the thing from the stands into the ringside area, and then grabbed another random fan. And it was kind of funny because of the way Wade Barrett was like with the random fan that he threw out of the stands.
was like, you can't do that to a spectator. The one thing they tell you when you first become a WWE superstar is you never put your hands on the fans.
But isn't that student ostensibly also a member of the fans? Like, he's not been established yet as an NXT superstar. He's just sitting in the stands. But it was totally fine for Von Wagner to kick that guy's ass, but not the second guy. So we got a bunch of stuff about this somehow.
Wait, but I guess that like goes back to, is it a wrestling school? Like, I'm so confused.
It's not. He's just, I don't know.
Here would be a teachable moment.
Yeah.
What is the university?
Sean Blanford says, Von Wagner. And by the way, he's really toned down on that accent. I'm like, he does not sound the way he did even a few months ago. So
no, and it's fucking devastating.
Yeah, it's true. He's much more funny to talk about. But I mean, good for Vaughn for getting it better. Also, I like the beard.
It helps to flesh out his face a little more and takes away, it draws the eye downward away from the brow line and then more because you don't want to look there.
Blonde Wagner.
So then RH says Andre Chase University offers a doctorate in charisma program. Von Wagner's application was not accepted due to lacking any degree of personality. They just decided to make him angry. Like, just being constantly in one state of emotion is not a character trait. You know?
And he goes, "You could never be me." And I keep being like, "But who are you?" Like, he was like, "You're just mad because you're not me. You could never be me." And I was like, "But who is Von Wagner?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?"
Pedro says, "Did I become an Andre Chase fan tonight?" Yes, I did. Well, let's not go that far.
All right, calm down. No.
James Neffer says, "I had to work late and listen to this on audio and had a mental breakdown. I was so confused." Yeah, no, don't do that. You gotta. They put so much stock into all the flashing lights. You kind of got to watch in order to figure out what's going on. Aaron World Order says that someone should have yanked the mic away from Vaughn. Yeah, he's not great at the talking. And Emily
just like, isn't Robert Stone gonna be like his manager?
I guess the batted to one Jam Beard says Vern Wigner looks like the son of Lurch.
Oh my God.
Which is true. Emily Cease says that Von Wagner has as much charisma as Alex's black screen I was staring at for 10 minutes last night. God love him. I'm really sorry about the internet. She's for the ruckus.
She is also for the ruckus, just to make sure that we're clarifying.
Von Shabugan has a very good point here. Von Wagner went from a 4-way for the title to a random appearance on the main roster. So true. Remember that? Where he was Adam Pearce's bodyguard, but didn't speak and nobody could see him.
But Vince kiboshed it.
Yeah, Vince said no.
He was like, "No, I don't like it." And I'm like, "But then weren't you the one who?"
Weren't you the one who said to do it? And then they never mentioned it again.
So confused.
What
is going on?
What is going on? To a random appearance on the main roster, to War Games, to a cage match with O'Reilly, to feuding with the jobber who never wins. Frightening trajectory. Oh boy, you don't even know. JW Pringle says, if brown hair is a character trait, a la Mandy Rose, then one emotion can be two. That's true.
Here's where you're wrong, though. Brown hair is not a character either.
I know. But they think it is. It's a consistency.
Correct.
Now, later, they said, we now take you live to Von Wagner being escorted from the building. And they have some security who walks with him into the trainers area. I guess there's like a pass through from one area to the other through that room. And they keep walking. All of security guards keep walking, but he stops and turns around and tries to stare down Roddy Strong. But Roddy Strong isn't staring down Von Wagner. Ivy Nile is staring down Von Wagner. And Mr. Showtime says, I've never wanted to watch a match as bad as I want to watch Wagner versus Ivy. Give it to us, you cowards. I don't know what they're doing with this Ivy Nile thing. Like, it's really interesting to me. Like, she absolutely could be the woman who just beats up men. But I feel like the first one she takes on isn't going to be Von Wagner. I feel like she's going to take on, somebody like an Andre Chase or something. But I love Ivy now. Just her whole aura is great.
I think she's awesome, and that she feels like a really special blend of like technical and a badass, like Mercedes Martinez a little bit. I don't think you can fill that void, but similar in that I'm like, she's gonna come here to kick your ass, no matter who you are.
That's true. I think we have a thing from Brian Medina, who says, Alex, I think Dexter Lumis would have been better as a good person than Mandy Rose in the evil. She's evil. Like, he's a serial killer, and he would have been better as a good person. Mandy Rose.
Why isn't the serial killer on a show called New Year's Evil?
Because he's hurt.
I have questions.
Because he's hurt. He's not allowed to compete.
Yeah, but he has an axe.
I know. It's true. We got Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose got to the chopper.
Yay!
And she shows up, and I thought for a second she was piloting it because they showed her in the front seat sitting there, and I was like, oh, it's just a really tiny chopper. That's why.
That was the Cora Jade skateboard of Ciampa's.
Oh man!
Why did they give her the Ric Flair entrance? I was very confused.
Yeah, it was. It was bad.
And this was not WrestleMania.
And she's this is how a champion arrives. And the other two women arrived as well with their own means of conveyance on a tiny skateboard and a large motorcycle. And then the match happened. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I didn't think this was that bad. The ending was terrible.
The ending was horrific.
The ending was like one of the worst endings to a match I've seen, probably since Ariane tried to pin Naomi on her stomach. That was probably the last time I saw an ending this bad. The ending was so bad. But I didn't hate the match because I feel like everybody's alley made sense, and I knew the outcome was going to be what it was going to be. Cora Jade needs to slow down a little. Yeah, I think I've seen that a lot in green women's wrestlers that are smaller and high energy.
She got signed at 19. Like,
yeah, she's a baby. So I see it in AEW all the time. Like, you just got to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you're the higher energy person in a match, that makes that even harder.
Yeah.
But I think she did all right. And I thought Raquel did her Raquel thing. And it made some avenues for Mandy to be sneaky, clever heel possible enough. And she's serviceable. And she actually did some good selling in this match. And she actually did some heel things that made sense. And one thing that I'll say this, Mandy's gotten a lot better at is looking like she's trying to win matches. She went for the pin instead of going to a ton of showboating or like weird moves a lot. Like, she just went for covers in this. That's a good thing. So that was good. I don't think she's evil. I don't think she needed to enter with dark angel wings.
I mean, she's evil, Kate. She's an angel from hell.
No, but she's hot.
But she's hot. She's a hot angel from hell. Well, she would be hot. She's in hell, which is fire. I guess what I think is, like, Cora Jade is going too fast, and she is still a little green, and she would benefit a lot from being in the ring with people who, I'm going to say it, are better than Mandy Rose. Because Mandy Rose can't, like, carry her through a match to make it look good. I just, like, Cora Jade's finisher has never been established, right?
Well, you don't need one in WWE.
No, Valab says Cora needs a real finisher, please. Do the Pepsi twist or something.
Oh, I love that.
Her finisher was because Mandy Rose takes the Chingona bomb, and then Cora breaks up the pin, so Raquel tries to beat up Cora, but Cora pushes her off the top rope to the outside, and then she goes over to a slowly recovering Mandy Rose, and instead of trying to hit an offensive maneuver on her, she does her only offensive maneuver, which is a schoolgirl roll-up that is then very slowly and awkwardly reversed into a roll-up by Mandy Rose. Like really slowly. Like it looked really bad.
I sincerely thought that Mandy Rose was going to put her in a submission. I thought we were going to get something cool out of Mandy Rose because this was so slow. I was like, is she flipping her over for a sharpshooter? Like, what's happening? I was like excited. I thought Mandy Rose was going to bust something out that we hadn't seen before. That's not what happened.
No.
But let me ask you this, Alex. If there was a move that 75% of your employees just kept winning with all the time, wouldn't you use it all the time too? I would like to see her get a finisher. I think a CM Punk tribute would be awesome. They'll never let that happen. But
I don't know. I don't know. Like,
I had
could it
very
be
low
called?
expectations.
She could have something called the kick flip or something, where she
that'd be
get like so, I don't know, give her some fun skateboarding terms or whatever. But a schoolgirl roll up is.
See you later, boy, and you have to say it like that.
I can't wait to hear Wade Barrett call it.
I'd call Jade with the "See you later, boy."
Yep. Yeah, this was not for me. You got to give her something that's not a schoolgirl roll up to win matches with, because her like sneaking up behind, like it was. She did it so painstakingly. It was almost like she turned to the crowd and went like, "Shh, be very, very quiet. I'm rolling up Mandy Rose." Like it was just terrible. Homicide Gomez,
you know where they could talk about it.
Yeah.
It's backstage after the show.
Homicide Gomez, I'm gonna no sell on that. Homicide Gomez says, "Happy New Year to Team KLX. Women's finale was a bit weird, but the show was great. Like the women's finale was definitely a bit weird, and I did not appreciate that tag match. I did not like it.
I will say my expectations were extremely low.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. Shibugan says, just imagine this could have been Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray. Yeah, that's kind of why I was hoping for them to win that match last week, because I thought this would have been much better. With Mandy Rose she's still going to win. I understand you're going to book her to win, but she would have been the least experienced wrestler in a triple threat as opposed to the most experienced wrestler in a triple threat. And I like that's, that would have been probably better for her and the whole match as a whole. The Nerd Guru says Io Shirai being benched from Mandy sickens me. Yeah, this is what we've NXT 1.5 is dead. We're gonna have to figure out how to get through this together.
And
the funny voices help. I mean, like that's basically why we're doing this, because it kind of helps with all the comedy, helps to get through the tragedy, of course.
The Io Shirai is something else. Mm-hmm. When she had that trash can on her head and she jumped off the rope, oh my God. Let's also keep in mind, I'm gonna say this in an act of stupid optimism, and I understand that about myself.
Right.
This is the first time we're seeing NXT, and that like NXT 2.0 and what I consider weird WWE wrestling season happened at the same time. Meaning, I feel like from September to December, WWE is always weird because it's all like, yeah, and then we're gonna reset everything by the time we get to Rumble. So we might see a lot of the people that we would rather see in this match getting called up. We might see them in Rumble. We might see them in tag teams. Like, I'm hoping that the reset button that's happening on the main roster might behoove what's happening in NXT for the people that we already know and like and are established. That is stupid and going to be punished and not rewarded, but that's where my head's at. It's called self-awareness, people, and it's ruining my life.
Svalab says, I mean, wrestlers can have multiple finishers, but can they at least have finishers? How are you a wrestler without a finisher? It bothers me. Yeah.
Because the schoolgirl roll-up is the most protected finisher in WWE, which is pathetic and sad.
It's true.
Alex? Back to you.
Match of the night to me was the main event because of what it means and how they told the story of the torch being passed. You may not like the torch being passed. The Nerd Guru says a moment of silence, if you will. Thank you, Black and Gold NXT. It is gone now. We hardly knew you. Thank you, Golden Era of Gargano, Andrade, Ciampa, Cole, and the UE. Your hard work is gone now. RIP. Yes, it is sad. But it did feel like Ciampa was like, okay, I'm going to go out on my shield. Let's figure out a way to make this thing work. The one, I'll say here, I thought the match was structured really great. They had a lot of callbacks from the first match.
Mm-hmm.
And when, so funny, when Bron Breakker went up to the top rope and was knocked off the top rope in the first match, which led to his demise, which led to him losing the match. I was like, what are you doing up there? You don't have a top rope maneuver. Why are you doing that? And then tonight he went up there and was stopped again. And I was like, what are you doing up there? Stop doing that. And then after a really great match of back and forth stuff, and I really like, he had an amazing spear. Dude, he cut Ciampa in half. It looked better than most spears on the main roster or anywhere else in wrestling. He goes up to the top rope again and like, what are you doing up there, dude? And he hit his old man's top rope flying bulldog on Ciampa. And I was like, oh, that's what you were doing. I had no idea. And I love that he was going to try and win the match at Halloween Havoc with that move, but Ciampa stopped him. And he was going to try it halfway through the match tonight, but Ciampa stopped him. The third time was the charm, and he hit that move. And at that point, Ciampa was done.
Yeah.
But he couldn't risk Ciampa kicking out. So I really, really wish that they would have pointed this out on commentary because it would have sewn everything up perfectly. He puts Ciampa in the Steiner motherfucking recliner and cranks back on his neck. Ciampa's injured neck, which could end his career and possibly paralyze him because of his surgically repaired neck.
His life?
So
yeah.
So I hate when they have a champ that I care about tap out to lose the belt because that should mean more to him than the pain that he's in. But not for Ciampa. Not for Ciampa that might end everything for him when he's got that little girl at home. I understand that. I understand why he had to tap out because he didn't want to lose his career. I get that. I saw a lot of people online that were like, why do they have him tap out? That sucks. And it does in a vacuum, but in the context of who Ciampa is and his entire story, the whole reason he had to give up that title the first time. This is fucking poetry, Kate. I love this. The whole reason he had to give up that title the first time was because of his hurt neck. He had to give up the title the second time because of his hurt neck. That is as good a storytelling as WWE ever gives us. And all it would have taken was a little bit more nudge from the commentators to make that connection. Yeah. That's a connection Mauro Ranallo makes 100 times out of 100, but they don't have him there anymore. Like that's what would have been there. Like that would have really sealed the deal for me. But at this point, it's fine to be cute and all, but fun is fun. You had him win the NXT title by hitting his old man's top rope bulldog and his uncle's Steiner recliner. At this point, you have to call him a Steiner now. Stop faking that he's not the heir apparent to this amazing legacy. I've said my piece.
So, to your point, Rick Steiner also came out after the match. I don't know what he said, but since we've gotten on air, I do know he came out. I don't know if they did any passing of the torch.
He was there and they didn't show him.
They didn't show. This was after.
I know, but like
they went off, right?
They could have showed
in the crowd,
Steiner in the friggin' crowd for his kid's match. He's in the front row. They're acting like he doesn't exist. It's just ridiculous.
It's so weird.
Anyway,
unless they want, there's going to be a point where
they gotta,
and maybe they don't want to.
Yeah.
Show him on screen until it's that moment. That's the only thing I can think of. It's kind of egregious. But what you just said about his neck is as perfect of a defense for the fact that wrestling is an art form as anyone could ever give. Like that is storytelling to a T. Yeah. It's 9,000,000% of the reason that I love Ciampa. It's why I love Danielson on top of his technical prowess. Like all of those things, like that is what is supposed to make this great. And unfortunately, sports entertainment doesn't really feel like an art form. It feels like pop, like bubblegum pop music.
Yeah.
This was nerdy prog rock for people like me.
This was Ciampa. It felt like Ciampa going out on his own terms.
Which
I kind of liked.
I loved that, and I just don't know. This is the only thing, and I've been asking it since this became a possibility. And now I have questions about what's next for both of them, because is Bron Breakker going to be in the Royal Rumble as your NXT champion?
I don't want it. I want him to be up fully on the main roster by the end of this calendar year. The Rumble feels too early.
But does he just make an appearance and come back down? Maybe like an appetizer,
like what they did with Keith Lee a few years ago when he had that moment with Brock. That's fine. Oh, okay, cool. I don't mind that. You're gonna have to bring up some people. He might as well be one of them. I've pitched it. I still think the play is if somehow Roman comes out of Mania as still as the champion, I think you keep it on him and you have Bron Breakker take it off of him at SummerSlam. I think that moment can be really, really cool to like crown the new era for real. This kid is basically a prodigy at this point. Like he's got so much more to grow and he's already this good.
Yeah.
Like Roman keeps talking about how he wants to go away and make movies. Like, I don't know how much longer he's going to do it before he's just like, you know what? Screw you. I'm leaving. Like do it so it makes sense and makes it worth, you know?
Yeah. Also, I don't know what's going on in the chat, but I see moderators telling everyone to chill out. So chill the hell out, because
I don't know what's going on.
Alex and I are the only ones that get to be sour. Yeah. You guys are allowed to be sour, but like respectfully. So calm down, and our moderators are wonderful. So relax. All right. Relax. You had yours, as Eddie Kingston would say. Relax. Yeah. I'm very intrigued by what happens here. I have no idea what happens with Ciampa. I just really don't. Unless AJ is going to come back down and they're going to put on some absolute bangers. If William Regal comes back with Joe or something, like, I don't know. I don't know if Ciampa without the title is going to be able to make stars the same way that he would with the title of the new generation. I don't doubt that he could do it. I doubt that they will give him the proper weight and value to do so, which makes me nervous.
I love that he had that little nod to Bron Breakker when they gave the kid the title. I thought it was really good.
That was really sweet. Yeah.
The one thing that I thought was really the worst thing about this entire thing, because also we should mention the whole thing was commercial free. That was an awesome touch.
Yes,
that was really cool. But the dumbest thing about all of this was they had him walk out, and there was a big styrofoam yellow X, and then he kicked it. And it split in two, and I was like, "What? Whose idea was that? That was so friggin' cheesy."
Do you have to ask?
I know.
You know who
Rob Reed says, I mean, it might have been Sean. You never know. He's kind of cheesy sometimes. Rob Reed says the Breakker era has finally begun. It has. Batted to one jam beard. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't say finally. I think they did this really well. I think this is the best thing that's happened in NXT 2.0.
Yeah.
Him winning the first time would have been too early. Him winning here feels appropriately timed. I really like this.
It was 60-40 that I've always heard of people who were like, he should have won the first time. And I was like, I don't know. But there are people who really wanted him to have run a long time ago. Batted to one jam beard echoes my sentiments with he won with a center recliner, which Vic Vic hit it at as his call. Then Vic called him a dog-faced gremlin. Why in the blue hell isn't he just called a Steiner already? Very nice.
Because it's a break-a lounger, a bark a breaker lounger.
A bark a lounger. Yes. Andrew 7186 says, first time watching you guys live here in Scotland. Carmelo and Bron will get the headlines, but I thought Roddy and Ciampa made them both look great. That is true. Roddy and Ciampa knew what their jobs were tonight, and they did them perfectly.
Yeah.
I thought that was that is part of the art form. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks sometimes when the booking's wrong. The booking was right tonight.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot, I think.
Kevin Nash said on a podcast that the most important thing in wrestling is to know how to lose. And I thought that was one of the most brilliant things I ever heard, because it's not far from the truth. Like, that is, it's such an important part of this.
Yeah. Fabian Streets did not like Braun's ring gear tonight. He said he was a big fan of the bright throwback singlet. I wonder if management told him to tone it back to look more like a champ.
He looked just like Baby Wardlow to me a little bit.
Like he's got a big singlet and it just says "Breaker" around it, of course, his belly. Like, it's got "Breaker." I like the other one too.
I like the other one too. That felt like, hey, they're gonna put gold across the fucking thing. Yeah.
The nerd guru says, should I trademark Breaker Lounger before them?
Too late. I already TM'd it.
The Breaker Lounger. Ricardo El Idolo says, now that Tommaso isn't the champ, what next? Stay in NXT, get called up, quit and go to AEW. He looked like he just let go of the last vestiges of NXT 1.5. I don't know. He said in the past he never wants to go to the main roster, but that was during NXT 1.5.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe now he realizes there's no spot for him here. I don't know what his ceiling would be on the main roster. Lord knows they could use him if they actually wanted to, but you never know. Like, that's the problem with that, is that he might just be lost in the shuffle or wind up getting released. That's the bitch of it. Nuruguru says, so now Bron gets called up with the title and then gets everything that makes him cool taken away and then rolled up by Veer in 2 minutes, right? Let's hope not. But certainly that would be part of the pattern.
I will say Karrion Kross was the Triple H NXT product. Bron Breakker is a Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard era product. So I'm hoping that we have some carry through.
Yeah. Super chats for the rest of the night. 22 Vine 3 photo says, I smell a love angle with Vaughn and Ivy. Valentine's Day is right around the corner.
You leave my Ivy alone. I love that little pair of biceps. You Malcolm Bivens keeps her focused and you relax.
Please, God, no, is my response to that. Shabugan says of the Wendy Chu character, they can't possibly think that the narcolepsy gimmick is going to get over. Is this a weirdly elaborate burial? I mean, elaborate is a stretch. They just haven't taken a nap. That's not very elaborate to me, but I understand what you're saying.
The Wendy Chu needs to see a doctor about this sleep pattern.
Yeah, it's true. Talking about the crowbar and a pole match, Valab says crowbar and a pole match. Is Vince Russo Tony's uncle? Hey, Uncle Vince, I got this idea. I've been kicking around. What do you think? Shabugan says crowbar and a pole. What's old and awful is new and still awful again. Daniel R says, yes?
That one's not going to be as terrible as a lot of on a pole matches are, because someone's going to beat the hell out of someone with a crowbar, which is cool.
Yeah. Daniel R says they have Pete Dunne, a great wrestler, one of the best in the world, and he's in a crowbar on a pole match next week. Does WWE have stipulation match dice? Yeah. I mean, like stipulation match dice. I don't know. Like, they have spin the wheel, make the deal with literally everything on it. It's the biggest wheel known to man.
And there's fights about who gets to spin it.
Yeah. Rob Reed says, for a show that was basically like the final transition from Black and Gold to 2.0, this show, for the most part, felt like a Black and Gold takeover. And then Rob Reed says, I may have let my love for Mellow Roddy and Bron Ciampa skew my initial Humper Chat. I saved those so I could read them back to back.
Like I said, self-awareness is ruining my life. But to your point, I was like, this feels like a new era show that's good, but all my favorite parts had old parts in it. So,
Shabugan says if Roddy's mates are gone and his wife is gone, maybe he asks for his release now. I mean, he could. They may be more willing to grant it. I'm not really sure. He could. He honestly, I wouldn't put it past him. He re-signed so he could work with his wife. His wife was supposed to have the Ivy Nile gimmick, not the gimmick, but that slot. Yeah, that slot in the Diamond Mine, and then they released her soon after he re-signed. Shabugan says, I don't think this will be the case, but if the only things they get out of this NXT 2.0 experiment is Bron, Carmelo Hayes, and Tony D, maybe it'll have been worth everything they went through to kill a son-in-law's vision. I mean,
here's the thing. You don't even need Bron or Carmelo with that. If it was just Tony D, the whole thing's been worth it. The whole thing's worth
it. The Batted to One Jambeer says they should call up B from NXT UK to the main roster. B Priestley. Who's now what? Blair Davenport? If they call her up, they got to change the name because Blair Davenport sounds terrible.
Blair Davenport
sounds like somebody I play bridge with.
Like, no, it's terrible.
Blair Davenport sounds like Tiffany Stratton, like her best friend. Don't do that. Don't you dare.
Sean Blanford says, hello, Kalex. This is the best 2.0 to date by a country mile, and it's a shame we probably won't see one as good for several more months. The era of Breakaker has begun. May Gabagool be with you. I mean,
with your spirit.
Yeah, it's all right. Matt Story says, definitely the best show of the 2.0 era. Let's see what Breakaker can do as champ. Yeah, his reign will be determined by the people they give him to feud with.
Yeah, and what makes me nervous is how much are they going to... They want to get this guy to the main roster, so how is that going to affect the reign is my big thing.
Yeah.
We'll get him versus Waller, right? Like that's a no-brainer.
Oh, Kate, that's the Mania program. If you're still in NXT, that's the Mania match. That's the main event.
Oh,
that's the whatever it's not going to be a takeover, whatever the hell they're going to call it.
It'll be the NXT WrestleMania premiere.
It'll be NXT
event.
Stand and Deliver Part 2.
Stand.
Break a curse. Yeah, that's right. Stand. Ellen Marks says, if the writers don't have characters for the actor, entertainers to portray, then how can anyone go forward to the main roster? It's a good question from Ellen Marks. I don't know. It's a good point. Josh Cardenas says, this is NXT's 2.0 plan. Bring in main roster guys and girls to feud with 2.0 roster for the ratings. Well, they got to try something. The ratings are in the toilet. So, yeah. Spencer Green says, in order to make this not a very depressing stream, I've heard you praise Stardom, but I have a hard time finding it. Are there places to find it online? Also, you're welcome for the good vibes. I mean, I would try the Google personally, or the Ask Jeeves. I've always liked the Ask Jeeves, but honestly, I don't know.
You know, it's like you got your own personal butler that's just bringing you information. Follow. This will be a good one for you. Follow Queen of the Ring with 2 G's on Twitter and Church of Joshi. She will be able to help you better than I can. I wish I had the capacity to get into Stardom. I am oversaturated on wrestling as it is, so I don't particularly follow it, but follow Church of Joshi and they will guide you down that rabbit hole.
Della Common says, I don't know what you're talking about. Blair Davenport is my favorite home lifestyle brand that's only sold at Target. That's good. All right. Okay. We got this one. Yes, this is super chat for Kate from Della Common. Sticking it out with the rest of us mad people watching Wrestle Kingdom this morning and still watching NXT tonight.
I love New Japan so much, and I was happy to do it, though very tired.
The Nerd Guru says, Kate, any big predictions for Dynamite in New Jersey tomorrow?
I think Jade Cargill is going to be your first TBS title champion, and I think Jonathan Gresham is going to be one of your judges for the Cole Danielson match, and we're going to set up Danielson and Cole and Gresham through that. I'm hoping. I'm praying.
Man, I hope not, because then the reason that they would have to feud is because Gresham gave the match to Paige, and that means the match goes another 60 minutes. And the first one was very nice, but it was long, and I don't have much time left. I don't need to watch one match for 60 minutes over and over and over again.
I don't know if that's the way it needs to. I was trying to think of ways around it, but I think if Danielson can heal it up into this Gresham, maybe it's not a ruling, but like, how could you sit there and let Cole beat me when you were right at ringside or something? Like maybe there's something with that, but judges scream ROH to me, and everybody's been wanting this match, and I'm one of those people. So,
yeah. Chris Mueller of
Bleacher Report.
Bleacher Report says, "I'm not joking when I say you two should start a whole podcast as these characters."
We could do our own coffee talk.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
He's awesome, by the way. He popped into that Wrestle Kingdom watch along yesterday too. What a great person.
Shabugan says, if we have to deal with AJ Styles down here, at least have him feud with Braun. It would still suck horribly, but it would suck less. I mean, I wouldn't mind him putting over Braun. I have a problem with him putting over Grayson Waller. That's my problem.
I don't think that would suck at all. And Shabugan, thank you so much for all of your texts today. We really appreciate the support.
Yeah, so generous. Shabugan
also wonderful to me on Twitter.
What would Dusty Rose think of this NXT? Also, Linda's the best. You're going to enjoy meeting her. Dusty Rhodes, listen, I was a big fan of the black and gold because that was my polka dots on my singlet, but I'm not a big fan of the rainbows. I'll tell you that much. Somewhere over the rainbow, I don't want to go over into rainbows. I'm done with the rainbows.
Go watch Harley Race and him the second time around.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Paul Hensler says, can we get Tony D to plug his new website? Hey, GoFundYourself.com. Hey, go fund yourself. Yeah, man, when you friggin' at least you go fund me, go fund you, go fund yourself. That's what I say. I say go fund yourself. Hey, you need some money? Go fund yourself. It's nice. Kate, how did you feel about Shibata going to business for himself?
Oh man, it was just an emotional experience having a guy that was had a brain bleed, being able to come back and wrestle, and Ren Narita was such a great opponent. I'm intrigued. New Japan's always so wild with their booking that it's an interesting way to kind of re-enter things, but I'm for it. I don't know how much durability that's going to have because I think everybody's just really excited that Shibata's back.
Pedro asks, what does Linda think of Tony D'Angelo?
I think he's such a nice boy. He's from down. Listen, sometimes he'll come by and he just ask if I need anything from the deli, and I'll always have him to go down and get a nice kosher pastrami sandwich. It's very nice. It's nice and lean down there at the deli. He's a very nice boy. I've known him since he was 5 years old. He's a very nice little boy. Also, he's a suplex machine. If you see him, he just throws people all over the ring. I love it.
I don't know. I've heard some things about his family that I'm not so keen on.
Let's not gossip.
I hear things around
town. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can get through two of these real quick. The other one's gonna be next week. Ricardo El Idolo Agrio. I swear to you, Tony D is gonna do 99 Ways to Die by Megadeth next week. I promise you. First thing. Okay, but we got to get this under two. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and tales of old lang syne? That was from James Zimmerman.
And for the year 2022, the moon.
Yep. The Regal rap is going to be a real quick one, and I might have to just end the broadcast in the middle of it so we can get under 2 hours so I don't get in trouble from Sean. It's 99 Problems, but a bitch ain't one by William Regal from Zach Barber.
By JC.
Vince,
I've got the Rap Patrol on the Gat Patrol. Foes that want to make sure my casket's closed. Rap critics say he's money, cash hose. I'm from the hood, stupid. What types of facts are those? If you grew up with holes in your zapatos, you'd celebrate the minute you was having to. I'm like, For critics, you can kiss my whole asshole. If you don't like my lyrics, you can press fast forward. Got beef with radio if they don't play their show. They don't play my hits. Well, I don't give a shit. So rap mags try and use my black ass. So advertisers can give them more cash for ads, fuckers. I don't know what you take me as or understand the intelligence that JC has. From rags to riches, I ain't dumb. I've got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. War games.
I was going to yell time limit draw.
Keep cool, Gabagool.
And also
See you
with
next
you.
week, everybody.